Question everything. Be unique. Be a rebel. Be a healer. Be a leader. Be a light warrior. Welcome to the new Aeon. Hello ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Constantine from beautiful Melbourne, Australia, from down under, and you've just taken the red pill and entered the new Aeon 2012, and you're going to tumble down the rabbit hole with me and see how deep the rabbit hole goes, as Morpheus says. Now this video, some of you will already know this. It's an old, basically the stuff I am discussing here is I've uploaded it before. I've noticed this a few years ago, and it was an old video that did pretty well, but it was very badly made. There was no script or anything. I just basically, when I noticed it, I just switched on. I put on the, I think it was the Phantom Menace. I paused. I put the DVD on. I paused the scene at that Amidala picture, the main one, where she has that the disc where her head is in the middle of the disc, and it creates that the Isis look that we will talk about in a minute. But it was ad lib. Okay. If you looked up the word ad lib, you'd probably find a link to that video next to it. It was that bad, and I was going. You know, I kind of, there was no script. I didn't know what I was saying. I had an idea in my head, but it was kind of, I kept pausing and going and this and that. So I am, contrary to that video and a couple of other ones that were kind of made like that one, under similar circumstances, and kind of worked out, coming out the way that one did. I'm actually well known, like the people that know me personally, they know that I'm eloquent, etc. So I've got my big words and my vocabulary and all that stuff. But that was just a one-off. But the info was great. It was something William Cooper had. I noticed later on, ages later, after I'd uploaded, I noticed that William Cooper, the great, probably the greatest, to tell the truth, the William Cooper was. He had also noticed this and made a video about it, had videos about it. I don't know if it was one or several. He mentioned it in one of his series about symbolism, etc. But I discovered it independently. So now I'm going to make, ever since I made Partner, which I have been talking about a lot lately, on the videos that I've made, that recorded and uploaded after the partnership happened, which was a couple of weeks ago. From this date, it's the 15th of September now, 2014. I don't know when this video will actually be uploaded, but I'm guessing I'm going to make it now without having to redo it, and it'll be up tonight. So whether it's uploaded the 15th or 16th, it was about a couple of weeks ago I made Partner. So now I have to remake some videos that are either crappy or had third-party notifications on them, mostly from music or some movie clips, etc. So we'll get into the video now, and I am reading from a script, a piece of paper here that I've got about four pages here that I printed, so you'll hear me doing a bit of this. I don't think, I'm not embarrassed that I'm going to be making a bit of sound effects here. I think it's a nice sort of organic, natural way. Just a guy sort of just sitting in front of his Microsoft live cam, webcam, and basically just reading from a printout. So I hope you guys are okay with that. Now the whole idea behind making the video was when I noticed the unmistakable Isis symbolism with Queen Amidala in The Phantom Menace, which is my least favorite Star Wars film, but it still was not bad. Which, for those of you who don't already know, it's the first chapter of the Star Wars saga, Episode 1, and you can see a statue of Isis here, and next to a couple of images of Queen Amidala soon after. In the first one here, it's actually a screenshot I took of this scene I put the movie in my laptop, and I think it was from I did it with Windows Movie Maker. So you put in the DVD and just you pause it and then you take a screenshot, or however I did it. It was easier to do it like that instead of googling these pictures on Google Images. So the camera, you can see that the camera is purposely positioned in a way so as to make her headdress fit perfectly into that metallic disc for a few seconds. For me, I noticed this. To me, this is obvious. A lot of people might say, "Oh, you're just imagining things, etc." But hey, I'm just here to tell you what I've observed, and you make what you will of it. And this very obviously creates an Isis-style sun disk around her head. Okay, and as many of you no doubt know, these types of things, however brief, they're always picked up by the subconscious. As for what's the actual reason these filmmakers use this kind of symbolism, I don't know. I don't know about that one. You know, a lot of us, we think that it's a less than genuine, a malevolent reason. You know, Freemasonic, Hollywood, Illuminati people that are putting all this symbolism in that's not doing us any good. You know, that one I don't know, but I'm not saying there's a malevolent intent on George Lucas's part. Pardon me, not at all, and I'll get into that a little bit more a bit later. But the symbolism is there, and it is done knowingly. And here we have another picture that's again clearly Isis inspired of Amidala. So pretty much, as it turns out, eventually I understood that it wasn't just the Phantom. As it turns out, the entire Skywalker family saga really is nothing more than a retelling of the Isis and Osiris myth. The Osiris/father archetype is Anakin. Isis is, of course, Amidala. Horus/the golden child is Luke, none other than Luke, my absolute favorite character in the saga. And last but not least, of course, we have Set as Darth Vader, who is Osiris's quote-unquote evil brother. Alright, that's how the story is. In the story, Osiris was murdered by Set, which incredibly sounds remarkably similar to Sith. And as Obi-Wan said to Luke in Episode 4, A New Hope, it's Episode 4, for those who don't know, in the internal chronology it's the 4th, but he was the, if you're not a Star Wars, a total Star Wars, hopeless Star Wars nerd like me, and you don't know, here's a good time to tell you that this Episode 4 business, all it means is that the first ever Star Wars film, the one that came out in 1977. So in that one, there's a scene where Obi-Wan says something like, "A young pupil of mine called Darth Vader betrayed and murdered your father." So that scene there, where he's telling Luke that in his hut. So basically, Osiris was murdered by his evil brother Set, and then he was resurrected by the love of Isis, by the magic and the love of Isis, which that's pretty much how the myth goes. You can Google, you can look that one up if you're not familiar with it off the top of your head. And this also, of course, correlates very closely with how Anakin finally returned to the light side of the Force in Episode 6, in Return of the Jedi, which was the third one in the original trilogy of films, the classic ones, which are the best three ones. and that was the one that came out in 1983, which was the first Star Wars I actually saw in the cinema, as when I was about, I don't know, 8 or 10. Must have been 8, of course. I couldn't have not been 8, since I was born in 1975. So it was. I guess that's why it's my favorite Star Wars, maybe. But it is the kick-ass. It's the best one. I think that's a bit of an objective truth, but whatever. It's my opinion as well. I love that movie, and it was due to his love for his son Luke. Even though that's not exactly like in the Isis myth, since of course Padme couldn't be the one to redeem him, being that she had passed away by the time of Episode 6. If you don't know, if your Star Wars nerdness is not at the epidemic levels that I have it at, that I have the disease, Padme, who is Padme Amidala. I know that's a weird name, I know, but that's apparently Luke's and Leia's mother, and the secret wife of Anakin Skywalker. So she is the Isis chick. She's the Isis. She represents Isis here. She was dead by the time of Episode 6, so she couldn't be exactly her to redeem Anakin / Osiris / Vader. But it was, by extension, it was Luke. So by extension, you could say it's the love of Padme, because it was Luke. Luke was like the direct connecting tissue to the Padme thing, because the last time ever that Darth Vader even thought about Padme was just when the Emperor had created him, when he well, you know how I mean it, like that Frankensteinish scene where he was first put in the suit at the end of Revenge of the Sith, where that horrifically cheesy "no" thing was put in, which nobody understands why that decision was made. But anyway, this is not Star Wars criticism video. I need to keep my fanboy thing in check. But the fact is that was the last time he ever thought of Padme, I guess. And then 20 years later, there was a gap for 20 years or whatever it was, 22. And so I guess it does fit in. Even though it wasn't Padme directly that redeemed him, it was Luke. It was very much the same thing. So it does fit very closely to the story, to the myth. Now, while we are on Luke, here's a very interesting thing as well about the character. There's more here. It's not just the Isis and Osiris dynamic. There's some details here about the Skywalker, Mr. Skywalker here, because the interesting thing about it is Horus. See, I looked this up back then when I had first made the vid. I didn't know it. You usually think that Horus is the sun god, but if you look it up, you'll see that originally Horus was originally the sky god. He was a sky god. I don't know if he was the sky god, like the main sky god, but he was definitely a sky god. I mean, you guys, if anybody knows more, please contact me. Please don't comment in every video I'm going to make from now on. I'm going to always say, just please don't comment underneath the video here in the comments if you want my attention about something. I hate the new layout, and I never check comments ever since they changed it. So contact me on the Knights of Truth group. Jump into that rabbit hole. Come in, join the party there, the Facebook Truther party. Knights of Truth, the official Facebook group for the new Aeon. So if you know anything about any more details about whether Horus was the only sky god of the Egyptians or the main one, versus maybe he was one of several, but he was a sky god anyway, and that's what he was seen as previous to being merged with the original sun god Ra at a later period in the history. But first and foremost, Horus is the Egyptian sky god. Like I said, if you don't know, look it up if you must. I'm not just making stuff up out of nowhere. I'm saying this because I've actually looked it up. So lo and behold, then Luke is the Skywalker. Okay, no, none other than the Skywalker, Sky God Skywalker. So you'll notice very clearly that he's almost always referred to as Skywalker. Okay, in the original trilogy, not Luke Skywalker, but just Skywalker. Not always, but most of the time. And then the thing about Luke as well is, if you look at the word Luke, like the origin of the word light, I don't know. I think it's. Don't quote me on this one. I'm not sure. This is kind of like a side note I'm making now. I may make another separate video on this. But I think it's from when you look up the etymology of Lucifer, it comes from Luke, it's L-U-K, which means light in Latin. So Luke, phonetically, even though it's spelled differently, L-U-K-E, the Latin is L-U-K or L-U-C. I'm not sure at the moment, right now, what it is. But phonetically, it is pronounced as Luke. So the same. It sounds exactly the same as Luke's first name. So that could be another connection there from George Lucas. He probably wants to show that like it's a symbolism thing that tries to tell us that, to make the connection between Luke and light. That Luke is the light, the sun god. Okay, so anyway, it goes deep. I can keep going, you can keep finding connections, but I'll stick to the main topic here. But the thing is that these things are not accidental. Okay, that's clear. It's clear to see. I'm sure a lot of people will look at this and say, you're crazy, man. But considering the success that the original uploader made about this upload had, even while it was the worst ever video I've made, like of any upload I've ever done on this channel. It was horrifically made, I admit it. That was an epic fail, as they say. But the info in it was good stuff. So I think I got a pretty good reaction. I thought, oh my god, I wonder what people are going to say. But I did. I even got some tips. Some lady, a woman, once commented under that now deleted video. Thank God. Gave me some tips as well. That Horus was the falcon-headed god, and the name of the Millennium Falcon as well has some type of meaning